G'day guys, Clint Adams here, and we have just recorded episode number 32B of The Full Landscape with Lee Gray from Lee Gray Landscape Design. You might be wondering why it's 32B. 32 didn't go to plan. Trent, who we love, had a rough day at the office.
Love you, Trent.
Didn't plug the USBs in, or we're not sure what happened, but there was a sound quality issue. Lee took this as a great opportunity to record her Better podcast, which is what the B stands for.
Not so nervous this time.
32 Better. In this podcast, we dive into how Lee got involved in landscape design and then all of the things that she did leading up to that point. And there's a lot of, I guess, micro tips about software and quoting and client interaction and landscape design. So if you're a landscape designer, I think you'll enjoy this. As always, I appreciate your time in watching and or listening to this. We do not take your attention for granted. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Y'all ready to turn it up tonight? If you really wanna fly, put your hands in the air, let the music get you high.
So this is episode number 32B of
Take two.
of The Full Landscape with Lee Gray. We had a practice run of this thanks to Trent's minor audio issue.
And also, I was very, very nervous, so it's fantastic
pretty good.
to have the opportunity.
And I was probably hungover, which, you know,
Were you?
I don't know. Probably
I
not.
was probably hungover too.
Probably
From
hungover.
too much coffee the day before.
You've got me on the back of 2 alcohol-free days in a row at the moment, so I'm pretty fresh.
Yeah, you would be.
Well rested. I'm trying to turn my phone onto silent and kind of like ooze some kind of professionalism. So, let's get into it. So you are describe to me your current job or what would you call yourself?
I'm a landscape designer, and I help clients with their landscape, their garden, plants, indoor plants.
Living spaces?
Living spaces sounds great.
We
Thanks,
talked
Clint.
about that last time. Well, I've got obviously the last podcast in the back of my mind, so
Yeah, living spaces.
Living space designer.
I really like to help the clients pick the right contractor for their job as well, the right landscaper. So I like to work really closely with the landscapers to get the best project for everyone.
Did you know, I guess how, obviously we haven't kind of touched on your origin, so let's go back to that quickly and then we'll come back. So did you went to high school in South Australia?
Yeah,
Yep.
I actually
Born and bred in South Australia?
I actually went to primary school in Blair, and Blair had a really, really strong nature play and nature education background.
For that not that generation.
For my generation,
but, no,
yeah.
That sounds bad, but for that era.
Yeah, it was new.
Yep.
And we spent a lot of time at Blair National Park, planting and weed eradication and all that. So I really got interested in horticulture, and I spent a lot of time on a farm.
Yep.
So friends had farm out at Meningie, so dairy farm, but spent a lot of time in that environment and loved it.
So living in Belair, what was it, holidaying in Meningie or just friends with
Yeah,
it? Yep.
yeah. So in the school holidays, we'd go up for the 2 weeks or 1 week and spend some time on the farm and helping out, and just really loved it. Spent a lot of time along the Coorong and outdoors, so absolutely loved it. So there's that. So then I went from Belair to Urrbrae High School, where I focused on horticulture.
And we talked about this, like, was there an intent? Because my first thoughts with Urrbrae were like, oh, you're going to be a vet, or you're going to be I don't know. But Urrbrae's not just about
I actually wanted to be a farmer.
Meaning.
Yeah, actually wanted to be a farmer. Didn't know of what, just had these grand ideas of being a farmer. Didn't really know what it involved.
Because of the Meningie, like you've been to a farm, so of course you're going to be a farmer. Yep.
Yeah, I like the whole idea of it. But then horticulture came, we were educated in horticulture from year 8, and I just took it all the way through to year 12.
Yep.
So we did a SACE. Our SACE was based on horticulture.
Yep.
Absolutely loved every part of it. And I was already working in the industry. So
what were you doing in the industry?
So I was working as a gardener. Like,
Yep.
you know how you all have the when you're younger, you have the jobs working on a weekend.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. So whether it's a paper round or
Yeah.
a lawn mowing round or knocking on doors to wash cars or whatever it might be. Yep.
Yeah, so I'd work in my grandma's gardening, and she taught me a lot about pruning the old, fruit trees and roses.
Yep.
But then I also worked at Pizza Hut as well. So I had a supervisor role at Pizza Hut, started when I was 14 and just loved working.
We talked about that in the last podcast, actually.
We did.
I was a Domino's boy and you're a Pizza Hut girl. There's got to be some rivalry there. Although I don't think Pizza Hut are still around, so
I don't even know if they
there's any
are
rivalry
around.
there at all.
Yeah.
Would you encourage your children to work at a fast food place? Do you feel like you benefited from that?
I definitely benefited from Pizza Hut.
Yep.
It's an American company, so all of the American standards and work processes and all of that were implemented at Pizza Hut. So it was quite strong on safety, and it was great. You didn't get paid, so if Pizza Hut closed at 1 o'clock, you didn't get paid after 1 o'clock.
I think that's called the George Columbaris syndrome.
Okay, that's a bad syndrome. But what it meant is that you had to manage all the staff underneath you for that whole night, because if you didn't get out at 1 o'clock, you weren't getting paid.
We were the same. And I don't know if it still happens. I remember early days I worked at Woolworths and it was the same deal. Like we would have to go sign off. So we would work 4:30 till 9 on a Thursday night. And I was in the fruit and veg section. So fruit and veg was very similar to pizza.
What Woolworths were you at?
At Tea Tree Plaza.
Oh, okay.
So I worked in fruit and veg at Tropicana, which was the, privately owned independent.
Yes.
And I was at Woolworths first and then went across to Tropicana.
That's right. I heard that.
And we would have to go sign out. So we had a finger scan signing in and out at Woolworths. This is back in 1995 to 97, 98.
Yeah.
And it was like a fingerprint scan and you'd have to go sign out and then go back to work and because fruit and veg you'd be putting shit away. And look, there would be that's systemic through most of those low margin or
if you want cheap pizza, someone has to pay for
someone's paying for it, and it's ultimately the food costs are pretty low, but the labour costs have to stay pretty low as well. What are pizzas at back then? We were selling $4.95 pizzas and you would have been too.
Yeah.
And if the cost of food was $2.20 or whatever it was, you had to then pump out the labour, the electricity, whatever. And then, I was a manager, so I don't know if you would have got to that point, but I was a manager. I was on $26,000 a year managing the store. And if you think going home,
my first pay, I think I was on $4.30 an hour.
Jesus, I thought I was bad. I think I was on $8.20. Mm-hmm. So
I was 14.
$4.
My son,
and you would have been like,
I loved it.
The money.
I bought the shoes.
Yeah.
My son's has been working for 6 months now. He's 16.
Yeah.
And he's loving working. It's great for kids. So I would definitely,
especially in that, I guess, safe zone. Like all the policies are there, the procedures are there. Like it's, you can. I think sending your son to McDonald's or Hungry Jack's or Big W or Woolworths, they're going to come home at the end of the day.
Yeah. My son works for a small business, so a cafe, and it's fantastic, and it's great that he's working with adults and uni students, and it really opens their mind to the
he's
world.
mature beyond his years anyway, but
he's fantastic.
But I think if you weren't, it drags you up. You have to.
Yeah, you have to.
You can't be an idiot, because it won't. You might get away with it at school, but you're not going to get away with it in the workplace.
Yeah.
So, working in the garden, obviously, as a love thing with your grandma.
Yeah, with my grandma, and then I started working at a production nursery, and we produced herbs and snow pea sprouts for retail and restaurants.
Yep.
And that was down at Darlington, and it was a big eye opener for the production horticulture industry. And then I just kept moving through the industry. So I've experienced working in garden shops. I've also worked for a landscaper, garden maintenance. So worked all around Adelaide doing garden maintenance.
Yep.
I realised that it was really hard as a landscaper to keep up with the guys. I could only ever produce 80% of what they could do because they just had the power, and it was really getting tough as a landscaper. I want to be the best at something, and I wasn't. I couldn't compete with the guys.
Was that an issue for your employer, or it was more you just had this internal issue?
I'm like, I've got to keep up with them, and I was really battering myself trying to keep up with them, and it just wasn't. I couldn't,
because at the time you might not have seen that you were bringing other things to the table that the guys weren't, like the organisation, a cleaner finish or organisation. Like the 20% you might have lost in your mind from efficiency, you picked up in having stock on site at the right time, or not breaking as many things, or
But it was good for me to realise, well, I can't be a landscaper for all of my career, and I really love design, so that's where I went from studying horticulture, finishing my horticulture training, to design.
Yep. So finish year 12, and I think last time we spoke, you said you did finish year 12 well, being a girl in a boy world.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So finished horticulture through high school, and then straight to Urrbrae Park, which is a TAFE run horticulture diploma. Last time we spoke, you talked about how there was like a difference between those two. So Urrbrae Park. So I'm 40, so anyone around my age and over studied at Urrbrae Park, and it was a different feel to the Urrbrae site. Still great, but it was very hands-on and very technical. So the landscapers in training there would be out installing paving and installing irrigation, and you'd be taking care of the gardens and dry walls and all
so it would be not as much classroom work as it might be now.
Yeah, definitely. And so you could walk around the site and see items that you've installed or
what's the benefit of that? Like you understand real life.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, right. So there is a real disconnect with currently in our system of people that are designing gardens but don't have a clear idea of how to install.
Would it be fair to say that that's outside just landscape as well, like in architecture as a general, I guess design as a general?
Yeah, I haven't experienced it in architecture. I just know from our industry and landscape design. I think it's really important that you know and that you have built-a-wall and installed paving and you have a really clear idea of how things are constructed before you design them. But we got that at Urrbrae, and I haven't been at Urrbrae for many years, so I don't know what that.
We should organise like adopt a designer and just get a landscape company to take a designer onto the sites for a week and
part of the design experience. And designers should, and I'm sure they do, pop into site and ask the landscapers questions on how things are being built and just observing how things are built.
I'm seeing it more, I guess, now that I'm getting my backyard done, it starts to make sense around like all the measurements and like tile spacings off of a location, or stair treads off of a location, and like it all means something. And I guess because I wasn't involved, I was naive to it, and I was just like, well, can't you just like, I don't know, just get a cement truck to dump my backyard in the backyard and just like smooth it out? But I guess and I know that I'm being funny, but I know that there's a lot more to it than that.
I remember years ago, I designed, my dad's an engineer and wonderful guy. He was landscaping as a weekend job when we were little. So that's what they used to do, go landscaping and build walls. And he built our latest house, like our house we grew up in. Did our landscaping. I used to help him install pavings and walls. I did a design for his house, and he came to me and he was so proud.
How old were you then? Was this as a youth, or
no?
Once you were qualified?
Yeah, I'd moved. I was living in the outback and just finished my design studies, and on the weekends I'd do the designs for family and friends while I was in the outback. And so I did his design, and he came to me really proud. He said I didn't have to cut one paver.
Because you designed, was that intentional? That was intentional.
That's what design is. It's making sure that you've got an idea of the product and the space and how you're going to use it well.
And pavers are probably a very obvious one.
Yes.
Do you do it with lawn?
Artificial lawn, yes.
Yeah, because it's 3.8 or whatever.
Yeah, you work out, some rolls are 3.8, some are 4. Whatever, so it depends. So artificial lawn. When I was working...
If you're put in a situation where you have to drop to the level of putting an artificial lawn.
Yeah.
You don't have to comment on that.
There's some spaces for artificial lawn.
Inside houses.
Yeah.
Children's bedrooms that want to look like a sports field. Nah, I won't go on about artificial lawn, but
Yeah, so it suits.
I
some
get
people.
that. Like, there's small shaded front yards that need
Yeah.
green or whatever,
Yeah.
or people that can't care for their own.
Well, a lot of time now people are jet setting or
Yep.
retiring, and they don't necessarily want a lawn or a garden.
Yep.
So you pop one in.
You sticking
Yeah.
artificial plants in your designs yet?
No,
No,
I haven't.
There's a line there.
I was out at Wholesale Plants the other day, and I said, "Oh, have you got any of those fake little plants that go in the indoor pot
me.
plants?" Yeah, I thought I'll drop one in for Clint. No, they looked at me and basically went, "Get out."
I was like,
Are you serious?
what have you done with Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, I need more green. I can't. I'd rather have a real plant die regularly than have fake
Yeah.
in here. My desire to have plants around is more from an oxygenization and I guess a
It's just
well-being,
nice.
a well-being
Nice to have the
standpoint.
green. So we had this discussion. The plant that I bought in for you is called a devil's ivy, and it's a beautiful plant.
So
and
for those of you listening and not watching, Lee gifted me a plant when we recorded 32A, our
32A.
audibly scratchy podcast, and I've got this plant here which I don't look after or anything. But you made an interesting comment about that, and like I think it might have been when you left around. People would spend the same amount of money on a bunch of flowers that would last 5 days, and this has been here for 2 or 3 weeks.
And it will be
with
here
no
for
love.
life if you look after it. But if you don't look after it, maybe 6 months.
Yeah, and then you can buy a new one and keep that. It's more sustainable, I guess. So.
Well, it's just really nice, isn't it?
I like it.
We're
I
putting
think
more green inside our homes.
I think that the other 31 guests were probably sitting down thinking how horrible they are that they didn't buy me a plant. Actually, Tim.
I think
I had to buy my own plant from Tim. Anyway, so you finished your horticulture, went into landscape design. How long? So how long have you been full-time landscape design?
Over 20.
Full-time.
Full-time landscape
it's your job.
design. Probably 15 years.
Yep, and you've had your own business for
3, 4.
Yep. And
3.
do you have any regrets, I guess, about not starting your own business earlier? Do you feel like it was exactly the right time?
Exactly the right time.
You were ready?
Yeah, I've worked in... I feel I've worked in a lot of areas in our industry.
Yep.
So retail, wholesale, landscaping, maintenance.
Yep.
So I've got my head around all of them. I've also worked in a design studio where it was just design and project management. So I was project managing for 5 years.
Yep.
So I understand that. And then working for a really big landscaper in Adelaide.
Yep.
And then it's time for me to go on my own.
Yeah, so you've more than done your apprenticeship.
Yeah, and all the experiences that I've taken from each job have been
There's a saying that
invaluable.
you don't know what you don't know, but do you feel like you've got knowledge gaps now around business, or you wouldn't know? Like, do you know what I mean?
Oh, we can always learn more,
Yeah.
can't we? I'm learning every day, so
Yeah.
yeah.
What
try
do
to
you
fill
run
in.
Xero for your accounting?
Yeah, Xero. Yeah.
That seems to be one of the most common, I think, accounting packages now that people are running from.
It's quite easy. Yeah. So I've run with quite a few different programs, but yeah, Xero now.
Yep.
Used to be MyOb years ago, but yeah, Xero is fantastic.
Do you'll be a one-woman show forever?
I think so.
Yep.
I really love doing the designs. That's my recharge. Is the day that I can sit down in front of the computer and design.
More so than the client interaction and the
Yeah.
and the driving around and the picking up samples and all the other stuff.
Yeah, so I make sure that I have recharge days, which is designing, and I don't want to give that to anyone else.
Yeah.
Every time I have the opportunity to get in front of a client, I'm excited because I'm like, another garden I get to design.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give that to anyone else. I'd rather do that really, really well myself.
I think that's good, like, especially knowing what's important to you and keeping those recharge days. I've never thought about it like that. It's probably something that I can implement into my days or my weeks.
Yeah, it's just identifying what recharges you and what drains the battery.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that you don't like it.
And it's
it
not a
just
massive
drains
negative.
your battery.
Yeah, it's just that you like that more.
Yeah, and so just balancing them out, and you can do that when you work for yourself, and it's just yourself. Yeah.
Well, you've got the positives of doing what you want when you want, but you've got
Yeah.
the negatives of doing what you have to do when you have to do it, and that's the hard thing about it.
Nothing I do I don't like.
Yeah.
So everything I do, I love. I will be creative 1 minute, and then the next minute I'm in front of a spreadsheet costing a job out. And
I'm
I
more
love
like
that.
when you have to go to meet with an accountant to deal with some tax issues, or you have to chase a client for unpaid money, or I don't know if you have much of that, but
yeah, no.
I do.
Yeah, I can imagine that. You're very in
and then
comparison.
you're like, oh, fuck. So one of the things that's come up, I guess, as I interview designers and landscape architects is that at uni or in their trainings that they've been told to hand draw their work first. Now, obviously, we've talked about this before. Where do you sit on that, like versus using a computer?
Yeah, I think if you're proficient in your computer skills, it's very easy to go straight onto the computer and design. I've never been one. Pretty much my whole working career as a designer, I've worked on the computer.
Yep.
Through our training, we worked hand drafting board by hand, but it's always been the computer. And if you're really proficient with the program, I don't see a problem.
Yep.
With hopping straight on the computer and designing. And it's great because you can get the exact precise measurements. You're putting the puzzle together.
I think that direction came from the risk of someone not being good on the computer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I
Like,
think
that
if
was
you're
why
not good on the computer, yeah, definitely.
Because there's a risk of doing a different design because you don't know how to do it.
Yeah. And I heard you talk about this. I can't recall the podcast, but you talked about getting curves right and this. But if you can draw a curve on the computer, why wouldn't
Then
you?
you're all good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's so much quicker.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy working on the computer.
Yeah. Do you have a design style, in your opinion?
No.
No?
I try and meet the client's needs with the design.
Yep.
I'll stick to plants I know that work
for
well.
or for the climate of the area. I guess there's different microclimates.
I definitely have my favourites for plants. And so that could be, you could probably identify my gardens once they're installed by the plants.
Yep.
You can identify the style of my designs.
But I think that's the case for most people's designs.
But not the actual style. I mean, the style of the presentation of the designs.
Oh, if the A3, you could look at that and go, that's Lee's.
That's Lee's.
But you could walk into the backyard and look at the plants and go, that's very Lee.
Yeah, but the garden design or the landscape design will be client.
Yeah, that's what the client wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think a lot of people are like that. I guess we see a lot of designs here, and I don't see it as much anymore because I'm not on the front line.
Yeah.
But you see it, and you know whose it is without seeing it. Like even without the block template, if you just see I guess the use of hedging or the stone style or the wall style or the whatever, you kind of get people have got a style. I think that's good, and I think that's probably why clients would choose a designer as well because they've seen their work and they're like, I like what you did it, but can you do this a little bit for us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are there any products that have, I guess, popped up in the market recently that are exciting you that we haven't seen in South Australia or in Australia?
Tricky question.
You know, like are there stones that have been discovered in quarries that we haven't seen before, or are there pots being made out of Coke bottles now that look like stone or like?
Oh, definitely no. No, I can't answer it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Clint. I can't answer it. I think the supply community is getting better at what they do, which is great. It makes our job easier.
I think that the quality of the jobs that are being performed here in South Australia are increasing in value.
Oh, definitely.
And I think the available money to invest in those products is obviously there. So then suppliers are able to actually start spending money on it and like development.
Yeah. So and as you mentioned that, it's probably a good what's the word? Segue. Just, there might not be amazing. Well, the products are great, but what is actually great in our industry is the quality.
Yep.
And so you're designing a garden that will be look as good and still be around in 50 years.
Yep.
And that's what's exciting in the industry.
To know that the stone you're buying will be there in 50 years because it's been sealed properly,
it's being installed properly.
The timbers are they'll weather, but they'll still be there because they were.
Yeah. So people are getting a little bit more settled. So they're investing in forever homes and they're renovating a lot more, and they're thinking, well, we want this garden to see us through, and we need this, and this for our kids or for our family, and then we need to install the garden to last that
I think that's
timeframe.
how we looked at it with our place. Like, our backyard's our forever home, but I might just have 3 forever homes. Do you know what I mean? Like, it depends on the success of life, you know, but we're building it as if we're not going anywhere. And then, you know, with young children and I guess whatever's going on in the world, whether or not it affects you or not personally, if you choose to be affected by whatever's the risks you have traveling, I think people will tend to stay home more than we may have 20 years ago.
And how lovely is it to have a beautiful home that you can come back to and enjoy?
Well, you're kind of holidaying. I like the idea of holidaying in your own home every day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm the same.
Like, and I'm probably preaching, but
no,
like,
preach away.
You know what I mean? You open the window and that's your, not whatever it is, your Balinese retreat or your European or whatever it is that excites you. You're looking out over a pool and having coffee outside next to your spa or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That you can have. Why not have that at home?
Exactly.
Why have it just to open the door and there's a clothesline and some rubble? Like, it's not inspiring.
Exactly. Yeah.
So one of the things that I guess for us that's really changed the way we do business is the technology that's available. Talk to me a bit about the technology available for you, and that can be software and hardware, and I guess where you see that going or how it's impacted your business.
Yeah, probably about 5 years ago, our industry started looking into app-based quoting programs and management programs, which is quite interesting. So you could run the same app for quoting a job and then managing a job. The guys on site can send through their hours and how many hours they spent installing a particular item, which then can change your quoting and help you review a job. So that's really exciting. There are also a lot of quoting packages that you can invest in, which are great.
And they obviously vary in price depending on what's available. Yeah.
So we generally run things on an Excel spreadsheet, say.
So you've always done that?
No.
Excel?
No. So depending on who I've worked for, we've run different programs. But Excel's great to start you off. But yeah, there are quite a few apps and different programs to use now.
And that's from a quoting standpoint. What about from a design standpoint? Obviously, there would have been a period where a design was only done on paper because in the 80s, how far back are we going? There wasn't computers. So...
Well,
there was computers, but I mean, I can imagine the software available to design a backyard. The quality's increased double every year or triple every year over the last whatever.
So people in our industry are using AutoCAD. There's Vectorworks. There's Revit, SketchUp. So it really it depends on how the designer feels with the program.
It's pretty amazing
and
to see
how they want to present it.
That explosion of SketchUp, which is a free software, I think, still. Yeah. And how crazy what you can produce from it when you get good at it.
Yeah, it's great.
Do you use it?
I don't use it.
Yep.
I have. I use a program called Vectorworks, and Vectorworks is a 2D and a 3D program. So you can import an item which has a 2D reference, a 3D reference, a render, all the information, and then can give you reports.
Can you build, I guess, like stock in there? Like you could have a tree that you've ready drawn. And you can have a pool if you really wanted to, and drop a whole pool in and just copy it. You could, but
it's not. When you're designing, you tend to the tree plants, yes, but when you're designing, it's generally custom pool sizes and everything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's changed the industry quite a bit because we can now easily produce 3D renders, so you can. Present a 2D plan, but the client can observe walking through a 3D or.
So if you do it, you do the 2D yourself.
I do the 2D,
and then the 3D would be subcontracted.
I subcontract that out.
Do you send them the 2D file and they just expand it as a 3D, or do they? How does that work? Like,
so they use a separate program, and they a couple of programs, or there's 3.
So can you just dump a CAD file into your 3D program and it's all there?
You can in theory. It depends what program you're using.
So yours you could?
Yes.
Yep. That's crazy. And then they just drag everything up as a 3D and then it's all of a sudden...
So that's quite simplistic
to
what happens. But no, it's a bit more complicated than that. But so generally they will create a model in SketchUp from your 2D drawing, and then they will
so that's almost
import it into another software package to do more of your effects, like your wind and
sun
sunlight.
directions.
Yeah.
I mean, SketchUp's got that, but
and then they may even import that into Photoshop.
Yeah, to give it the
another
shot.
Yeah. So it's quite a complex.
It's almost starting
system.
again. Like you've got the design now.
The design's the hard. Like design's what takes the time.
And now it's just like, okay, there's a pool there, there's a tree there, there's a pergola there, there's a barbecue there, and you have to reconstruct each of those pieces, but you know where they're going to go and how far they are from each other.
Yeah.
The reason I dragged up, I remember using SketchUp, and you just
extrude,
drag a pole, like that's going to be a GIF. I shouldn't have done that. One of the questions I've got here is like, what's the thing that you wish that clients knew about your industry before you went to meet with them? I guess, those common misconceptions about stuff, or like, if you could, put it out there, like, we do this, or we don't do this, or we are this. Like, is there something that comes to mind when I say that?
I think it's really important for clients to understand that landscapers are builders and highly skilled.
Yep.
And it's not a wheelbarrow on the back of a ute.
Yep.
It's a highly skilled builder.
Yeah.
Undertaking your work.
Yep.
That's really important, and that's what I try to communicate with the clients.
Yep. And that I guess to expand on that, you get what you pay for.
And
that, I mean, I'm seeing it more
Definitely.
now with things like waterproofing and I guess foundation depths, and it's just ridiculous. Some of the stuff I see.
attention to detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the code that you need to meet to make sure that the job not only meets a standard, but potentially exceeds the standard, but also is going to still be there in that 50 years, like you talked about.
Yeah.
Do you find that people have a interpretation of the landscaper's worth, or that it is very much like, well, can't they just throw some mulch on the ground? Why does it have to cost that much? Is that?
I think until you meet the landscaper, perhaps, or you start to be exposed to their Instagram or previous jobs,
because you can't be seeing that many clients like that anymore. And you've got a reputation in the market, and you're working with, top landscapers and builders. Like you couldn't still. This is more not in your client base, but as a general thing.
Yeah.
Because you're not seeing it as much.
Yeah.
So when you go meet with a client, what does that consultation process look like? Like I'm assuming someone gets funneled into your world from Instagram or a builder referral, or you're working for the landscaper?
Yeah, generally a referral.
You're not in the yellow pages then?
No, not in the yellow pages.
Okay, cool.
So, look, 99% of the work I am getting is referral based.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go and meet with the client, and we'll just walk through the areas and discuss what they would like to achieve with the garden and the landscape. If they've got any materials that they've fallen in love with, or we'll just run through all of those things. Once we've had that meeting, I will then the next day just send them through a concept board so they can see the ideas that we discussed on site.
And is it
what
usually
they
that
look
quick?
like.
Like
Yeah, I try to,
strike
because
while
so
the
it's
iron's
nice.
hot?
Or it's nice and fresh in everyone's mind.
Yep.
I try and work on being in contact with a draft plan within a couple of weeks, because it's nice and fresh.
Yep.
So often I'll go and measure. I need to measure a site. So if there's no sites, if there isn't a site survey, I'll go and measure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take my laser out and take some levels and measure the site, and then.
Well, hang on, but you're a girl and you know how to use a laser?
Yeah, really good one. Yeah,
you need to get a bigger car from what I've seen.
Oh no, I've got the roof racks for the laser.
Yep.
For the
So you'll go measure the site.
Oh look, in my design training, the first module we did was how to measure a garden and how to take levels.
I guess that makes sense. That you have to have a good foundation, otherwise you're not going to build.
Back then we used to have a dumpy levels, so it was a lot harder. Now the laser level, I can just go out there by myself and take the levels. Yep. But it's really important to go out there and get a really good feel for the garden. So while you're measuring, you're getting a feel and you're thinking about the spaces.
Well, you're probably hearing noises and birds and seeing neighbours' fences.
Great. It's a good exercise. So then once we've measured the garden, or we get the site survey, you'll often go back and get a feel for the garden with the survey in your hand.
Yep.
And then you go back and do the exciting thing, which is designing.
Do you find that if you've gone to a site, you're pretty much going to get the job? Like, is there much fishing for you now, or is it pretty much like 9 out of 10 people are like, no, we want you to do it, we just wanted to meet you and have a chat with you first?
Yeah, generally when I go to a site, they've probably seen one of my gardens through a friend, the architect or the builder. Architect or the builder has recommended me, and there's generally a third connection.
Yeah, whether it's a landscaper, or
Landscaper,
another
or
person.
they've then followed my social media,
Yep.
and then they've recognised another garden they've seen.
Yep.
So it's generally like that. Yeah.
How important do you think social media is for your business?
Extremely important. I think I absolutely love Instagram. It's a fantastic community that we've created on Instagram. So we have that free advertising. If you're not promoting ads, you've got the free advertising.
Yep.
It's also really great to connect with other people in the industry. So I turned up to an industry event on Friday, and I hadn't met Dale from Prestigious Gardens.
But you knew who he was.
Knew who he was.
Yeah.
We talk on Instagram every week, and we've spoken over the phone, but I felt like we were
I get that.
we'd gone back for a good year. We were joking that we'd gone back for years.
Yep.
And then you're also keeping in contact with the landscapers that you work with, where
Well, you're probably seeing your jobs as they progress as well sometimes. If you haven't been there, like every day there's a story of, oh, no shit, they're pouring a slab today. How cool is
it's
that?
great. And it's like, oh, better get to that site and have a look at what's going on. It's also really good to see your designs being reposted by suppliers.
Yep.
So that is extremely important for any suppliers listening.
Yeah.
It's really important that if people are using your product on site
And sharing it.
that you are proud to see your product on their site.
I definitely underestimated that, and I think that's something that we probably... I didn't see it from your point of view, or I wasn't as conscious of it when you first mentioned it, and I was like, no shit, that does make sense, because I guess you've chosen, especially in your world, you're choosing to use quality products. You would then expect that the people that manufacture or distribute those products are as proud of the products as you are, and that they would then share it. Because I was probably guilty of not doing it, not from a lack of desire, just from a busyness and just going, oh no shit, I probably should share that. But it is good feedback for the suppliers, and then it creates that kind of like cross-pollination of exposure to their market and your market, and you kind of just, I know, I can just see like each of you boosting each other.
Yeah, it's the
over
support.
The next fence.
Yeah, exactly. It's that support, supporting each other, and it's really important. And very important. I feel that people aren't doing Instagram right, and I think
I can just see Lee's lessons in Instagram. Here we go.
I need to look. I'm not I don't have a marketing background, but I do care for people, and I do have that common sense. And I don't see a lot of common sense on Instagram, and it makes me very cross.
I have a feeling she might be referring to my Instagram channels.
No.
My lack of common sense.
Not at all. Not
God.
at all.
Yeah, you don't need to give specifics because you'll throw yourself under a bus.
I'll throw myself under a bus, but I really feel like it could be done a lot better.
And
it's
look,
a free platform that people are not using very well.
Yeah, it's I guess it's a free market and a free world, and that Instagram being free allows you to use it however you want to. And I guess there's so many differing opinions on how you should curate your feed, and like you see some feeds that are like perfectly curated with colorful patterns and all this shit, and then you see my feed which has no thought, don't give a shit, posting it. Mine's about volume over quality.
Mine's about, I am so excited for everyone I know to see this. I'm so proud.
Yeah.
And that's
and you
what
can't
mine
wait to
is.
show it.
Yeah, I can't wait. And I'll be having a wonderful day drafting, but I'll go to a job site to take one photo because I want everyone I know to see how wonderful this looks.
I'm way too analytical. I'm like, algorithmically, the chances of people seeing this image are pretty low. So I need to post it probably 40 times to make sure that everyone gets to see it, and I just got everyone to see more of it so that we get more exposure, and then more likes, and then more exposure, and we sell more stuff, and we get bigger, and we more. It's so that's why.
But you're coming from a retail and a supplier point of view,
and a personal brand, and like there's a lot of different shit. But all I'm highlighting is that a lot of different people will use the Instagram for different reasons.
Yeah. So you're saying I'm too bossy?
No.
I'm just saying I've got this really clear idea of how you should use it.
I guess it's not for you to impose on others how they should use Instagram, but also if they're not using it how you think they should and it's benefiting you, fuck them. Like, let them do it. Shit.
But if it costs,
but if they're
them
tied
business,
to you,
if
that
it
also
costs them business,
you feel bad about it.
I feel like
that's their problem. It's an open market. They'll go broke. That's it, and then you've got more market. Or look, it's competitive. The cream are going to rise to the top. It's not a charity landscape industry. Although I think some people think it is, but you know.
Yeah.
So Lee's doing Instagram training sessions on April 22nd.
I am. Yep. Please come.
You can
$100
you can only RSVP via Instagram, and if you don't do it properly, you better watch out.
Yes.
If Instagram was deleted tomorrow, Mark Zuckerberg went, fuck this, I don't want Instagram anymore, where would you go?
That's interesting. Look, I love Pinterest. Pinterest is great for creatives.
Yep.
So probably something like Pinterest.
Yep.
There's quite a few platforms. LinkedIn is great.
I noticed you posting on LinkedIn last night, actually. I hadn't seen... I haven't spent a lot of time there. I'm trying to be active on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. Like, it's ridiculous.
I tried to ask my teens if I should go on TikTok, and they laughed at me. So
I would be careful where you seek your advice.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys.
No, well, they're not...
I'm like...
They're teens, and they're not operating a business.
The dance.
Look, I guess it depends what you want out of it. You know, the people that are on TikTok now are going to be deciding they'll be buying landscape design in 20 years.
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to tell them. But I was just, as many people as I can show these beautiful gardens to, I want to
do it.
So like,
I had a meeting with a guy the other day, Tyson, who I did the first craft with. He's a dietitian, and we had a meeting at a brewery because
why not?
That's us. And we just got chatting. He's doing some work with Gary Vee, so he's the first international. They've got a Vayner Mentors thing where you pay and you get mentored by Gary Vee and his team. And he was showing me the stuff he's doing on TikTok, and he's getting, he's just a dude in Australia, in Brisbane, that posted some random shit about whatever, and he's getting 2 million views organically.
Yeah, wow.
And getting followers.
Well, there you go.
I don't know. I think 2 million might be a stretch, but that happens.
Watch this space. Does that mean I have to dance in a supermarket?
It just means you do whatever you want. Like, I'll show you afterwards. I'll show you what he showed me. It's ridiculous, the depth of... Because I don't want to say I'm busy and that's why I didn't do it, but ultimately that's it. I'm busy and I didn't prioritise it. But I should have been more active on TikTok 6 months ago.
Yeah, okay.
And probably more for my personal brand and my desire to speak and whatever else, more than selling sprinklers.
Yep.
But those kids are going to be buying mulch in 8 years. And I'm trying to build a $100 million company over the next 40 years. So it's not unrealistic that TikTok... But the thing...
But it's not about mulch, Clint. It's also about the fact that young people look up to you and people in the industry look up to you. So people aren't necessarily following you for irrigation or mulch. They're following you because they think you're a great business person, great guy.
Recovering alcoholic.
Every
day. But I guess the final point is what you learn by using TikTok might serve you on Instagram in a year.
Okay, thanks. Are you dissing is that a subtle way
of
dissing my Instagram?
I'm saying that all these tech companies are looking over each other's shoulders, and if TikTok starts to grab more daily users than Instagram are going to make changes around how their platform's used to suit that, because they're businesses.
Cheers for the heads up.
And then all of a sudden you're like, kids, I fucking know this shit. Watch me floss.
I know what that is.
But do you know how to do it?
Yes, but I'm not doing it.
I was hoping for I can do it.
No, I'm not doing it because my children will be mortified.
Yeah. Isn't that the whole purpose of being a parent, is to embarrass your children?
No, I want to be a cool mum.
Oh. Send that clip to them. Be like,
I'm going to be cool.
You don't say that, mum, especially on camera.
My poor child one day said to me, Mum, if I'm out in public, please don't say hello.
To me, I remember,
like, oh no,
I really don't give a shit about lots of that shit. And I was like happy to hug my parents in public and kiss and like whatever. But I remember my stepbrother, we were up in Queensland, and he was like, I would have been in my single figures, like kind of 8, maybe 10. And I was walking, just holding Dad's hand or whatever, like I don't give a shit. And these guys they're probably 6 or 8 years. There's 2 stepbrothers that are older than me, walking like 8 meters ahead. Do not talk to us. Do not, like, we don't know you. And I'm just like, that's really weird. Like, Dad and my stepmom paid for these guys to come to Queensland on a holiday, and they don't even want to be with them. Not knowing what it felt like to be a 16-year-old or a 14-year-old at the time. But I don't think I went on family holidays with them after 12, so I didn't get to experience it. But I think we talked about this before, with regards to your I guess tech, are you PC or Apple?
Oh, I love my Apple phone.
Yeah.
I love the design of the Apple iPad, but I am PC.
From a design standpoint?
PC, yeah.
Why?
because my brother and my husband and my son can fix the computer
Yep.
for me. So any IT issues, I just say,
You've got all
my
these tech
poor
around you.
son Evan, can you come and fix this? And he does.
Yeah.
And that makes it really, really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Is there much difference, like, for fixing them? Like, not from a design standpoint. I'm just asking Michael.
We're
who's-
asking Twinkles over
Who's
there.
Twinkles and Sparkles, our unicorn over there.
Sparkles.
I think PC is more accessible for just like the general public.
If you had to
fix them and replace parts
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, whereas Mac is more like specific.
Yeah.
Like really specific.
You need a Russian
tools
hacker
and
like
that kind of
Jaren.
stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I love the design. Anything design, I love the design of
I just
Apple.
like
and
all I hear about Apple is like, oh, I had to take my phone into the App Store. Like I was there for 6 hours.
Really?
I need to buy a new phone.
Ah,
That's
love
all I
it.
hear about Apple.
Love
But
Apple.
this is going to become a thing.
I've got this funny saying, and I think it's hilarious. And this is it. Imagine having to wake up and look at a Samsung.
What's wrong?
That's
with
my
that?
joke. Did you not laugh?
It's not catching on.
I'm actually a very funny
I'm
person.
laughing at the fact that you said that. I'm not laughing.
Imagine
at what
having
you
to wake up and look at a Samsung. It would be really sad.
said. I wake up and look at a cracked Huawei.
When I wake up and look at this beautiful designed phone. But anyway,
I love how no one's waking up and looking at their partner. That says a lot about the world we live in now.
that's okay.
You grab your phone first. I do.
I get up and have a coffee before I do anything.
Before your husband wakes up.
Before anything.
I wake
I
up.
work very early, so
I wake
I'll go
up and grab my phone,
work.
and then I'm like, "Oh, hey, good morning." Probably shouldn't do that.
I go and work, so yeah.
Is there a quote or mantra that you live by?
Yes, and I listen a lot to Brene Brown, and she's from Texas, and she's absolutely amazing, and really great for creatives or anyone that where they're putting themselves on the line for criticism. And I found that the quote will take me through work, it will take me through personal life, anything that happens. I think of this quote and I feel quite at peace. And I have to think about it because I've forgotten it.
It's not written down somewhere.
So it goes, you're going to cut this, aren't you?
He'll clean it up for you.
Clean it up for me. Okay. Thanks.
For £50.
Sparkles.
Sparkles only works for pounds, not dollars.
So the quote that I love is from the Man in the Arena speech, which is Theodore Roosevelt.
Yep.
And it's been shortened. So Brene Brown has shortened it. And it goes like this, sort of a language warning. If you're not in the arena also getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. And that takes me through being a creative and showing people my designs. It takes me through life. If personal life, anywhere. If someone's criticizing me, but they're not in the same field I'm in, or they're not doing the same job I'm doing, or making the same effort that I'm making, then I'm not really interested in their feedback, and I'm just going to do what I do.
And then you asked your kids if you should go on TikTok.
Then I asked my kids if I could go on TikTok. Well, I actually really my kids are fantastic.
I'm just being
I just
silly.
ask them for advice every day.
Ever since obviously that quote you told me about last time we met, and it comes across like in different ways to me all the time. Like not
really?
the actual quote, but now I'm like I guess I said to you, be careful. Don't be careful who you take advice from, or don't outsource your judgment. It's kind of that
Yeah.
whole like if you're suffering from, I guess, anxiety or imposter syndrome or whatever because of external forces, definitely don't take input from people that aren't, playing the same game or that
Yeah.
aren't putting in the same effort. And I think that was probably one of the most important things about what you said there was like that aren't putting in the same effort,
Yeah.
because that's part of the whole game. Like you need the talent and you need the effort as well. And the talents, I guess for some people, the talent's only going to take you so far.
But I think it's very brave to show up and be seen, which is something else that Brene Brown says. Show up and be seen and just be yourself.
Yep.
And that is braver than putting on a facade or pretending to be someone else.
That fake it till you make it bullshit fucks me off no end. And I know you put a language warning in front of a sentence where you said ass, so I should have.
It sounds pretty aggressive.
It just pisses me off. Like,
Yeah.
why? Like, why fake it till you make it? Why
Just
don't you
be
just work
yourself.
hard until you make it, and
Yeah.
you don't have to fake it?
I'm genuine.
But everyone's different.
You got to be yourself, and if you're pretending to be someone else and you turn up somewhere and they don't like you, then you've pretended what. Like,
it takes too much energy.
It does.
Because
but
you have
if
to
you're
maintain
yourself, well then they don't. Not everyone's
At least you
going
know
to
where you
like
stand.
you.
I made a post on LinkedIn before about that. Like, we put our values up on social media, I don't know, 5 or 8 years ago, and I made a video about it, and it copped a bit of shit recently on the advertiser.
We loved it. Matt and I, my husband, we loved watching your stuff and like, oh, this is hilarious.
Yeah, but it separates your potential relationships from your non-potential relationships.
Yeah.
And like what you're just saying there, like if you just be yourself, if someone doesn't like it, then that's real easy. Then you don't have to be part of their lives.
Yeah, exactly.
And that just saved both of you 4 minutes or 12 minutes. Or
and that's the same. When I go and present a design, I am very detail orientated. So if someone asks me a question, I will answer the question, but after I've explained why.
Yeah.
And why, or what the theory behind it is, and so that's not going to appeal to some people.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
People
I'd be like, I just need the answer.
Yeah, some people want
That's
the
me.
answer.
I just need the answer.
And
I don't need to know why.
You can change how you are with everyone. Like everyone's got a different person, like a different relationship with people depending on what they need from that relationship. But being yourself and going to a meeting and going, okay, well, I was myself at this meeting. That's who I am, and that's what they're going to get when they have a design by me. My quoting is I go home and I work out how many hours it's going to take me to do the job, and then I send them a quote. So there's no fixed price. And I think, well, if the client wasn't happy with the fee proposal, I couldn't have done it for any less. That's what it was.
No, that's what it costs
so
you
then
for you
I
to
can
do
sleep at night going, oh, I shouldn't.
Oh, because you didn't throw like, oh, it's $5,500, and you're like, oh, it probably should take me 20 hours, but
I work it out to the minute.
And you'll be honest with the hours. You track your hours. I didn't know that. That's
and so if the client feels that isn't where they want to sit for a price range to pay, then I can't do it for any less anyway. No. So I'm not going to lose sleep over losing jobs that way.
You're in a I guess a privileged or unique position, and it's not luck because you work towards it, but you don't want to hire any more staff. You're probably working, you work 80 hours a week or something stupid.
I'm pretty much working 7 days and like 14 hours.
Yeah. So even more than that. So if someone's not willing to pay that hourly rate, they've probably benefited you because you're like, cool, I can have an 80-hour week this week instead of 100 hour. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that's what's happening.
Yeah. But do you know what? There are and that's my personality, and that's the sort of people that I work with in the industry is people that are really honest and are really transparent.
Yeah.
So they may say to the client, no, I can't do that, or I can't meet your deadline, or we can't start in July, we can only start in August. That is my client, the client that wants really clear direction.
That's how it has to be, though. Like, and I think this is probably a trap for young business people. And when I say young, I don't mean their age, but the age of being in business. So you're a young business person as well, and that's quite wise of you to be in that place. And that comes from being in the market for so long.
Yeah.
Saying yes and not being able to deliver is so much worse than saying no
damaging.
and then moving on.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it 100 times, and I'm going to say it again. We did a job for a guy in Medindi. This is like before I opened Waterpro, we were struggling to, I guess, crack those, I guess, nicer suburbs and get access to larger land and do those lawn jobs. And we finally got this job in Medindi on Herbert. So you know where that?
Yeah, I know Herbert.
Yeah, around the corner. It's like
it's Hubert, isn't it?
Yeah. I only got one job, and then we opened an irrigation shop. But it was like 13 or 14 grand. We replaced their turf and put subsurface irrigation down there. And one night, the owner of the house came home to see his kids. He's a lawyer, so it was like come home, see the kids, and then back to work. And he was working, and we were just standing out the front having a drink. I think we might have been having a cigar actually, like just random shit.
Nice, yeah.
Rich people stuff. Just having a cigar, and I was telling him how stressed out I was and how busy we were, and he's like, "You need to say no more."
Yeah.
And that was it. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you need to say no more. Like, if you say yes to everything, of course you're going to be busy, and you're going to do stuff that you shouldn't be doing, and you're going to let people down, and you're going to stress. And that, you get anxiety and stress from making commitments you can't meet.
Yeah.
And that's from trying to people please.
Yeah.
Whereas, and so what you're saying is like, I guess the same as what I'm saying, like, if you say no or give them an honest deadline and they don't like it, at least they can make another option. But you don't have anxiety or stress or whatever the emotion is that you feel off the back of that, and you can just sleep.
Yeah,
which is really
definitely.
important.
And that's how I would like to be communicated with, and it's how I communicate. So that's definitely my client. It's the suppliers I like working with,
So
and
you
also
set that tone early.
landscapers. Yeah.
You set that tone early, and then it's
Yeah.
that's perfect. So there's no further education that you're looking at doing.
No.
It's just working
Really
now.
Really happy just working.
You spend a fair bit of time networking. I think you might not call it networking, but I see it as networking because you're at a lot of events, industry events, whatever is going. You're usually like, you're a yes before you're a no, right? If someone says, "Oh, there's a tile adhesive night or there's a plant night," you'll generally try to go.
I'll try to support people as well. Like,
so is it as much the supporting of others more than self gain?
Yeah, it's all supporting others. So, if I know you, I'm committed to your success as well.
Yeah.
So if someone's hosting an event, I'll try my best to
Like
be
if you
there.
can be there, you'll be there.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like supporting people back, and that's just what makes me feel good is helping other people.
Yeah.
So I'll go to those events. Often they're quite draining for me because I'm not a social butterfly.
Yeah.
So they are quite draining, but I try and go to support people. Yeah.
It's interesting you say you're not a social butterfly. So does those situations? Are you putting yourself in? Are you putting yourself in stressful situations then?
Yeah, I am.
How do you feel that? Do you feel that serves you, or you just do it because you care about the people?
Yeah. And once I'm there, I'm fine.
Yeah, it's just about going.
Yeah, it's about going, and I can't do small chat, so that's why the social events are really hard.
Because you won't do small talk.
I can't do small talk.
So you'll just stand there.
I really can't. If you're talking about something deep and serious, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm your girl.
Yeah.
But I can't do small talk.
So you'd be more likely to be one
that I need to
conversation.
learn.
So you'll be there for 2 hours and you'll have one conversation.
person, yeah.
And then that's it. But then the next time it might be a different person.
Do you know that's exactly what happened on Friday night?
Yep.
I got talking to Dale. He's so interesting, such a great young lad.
He's smart.
Very amazing young lad. And I really had a wonderful night just talking to Dale.
Yeah.
Sorry everyone else, I didn't really get to say hello.
Yeah, but then you'll see them at event B, event C, I hadn't met Dale. The first time I met Dale, he dropped off a Christmas present to me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I say kid, he's probably not a kid, but that's smart.
No, he's a kid.
I was like, that's really smart.
He's a wonderful young man.
You know, to go out and say thank you to your suppliers.
Yeah.
And we should have been saying thank you to him.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. But I think it's
that whole Christmas thing is a little bit stressful though, for everyone. Who do you give presents to? Who do you not give presents to? It would be very hard as a supplier.
We would have probably spent $10,000 on Christmas gifts this year.
And
the time to get out and then give them, that's even harder. Because the money I can just move money. But
we could create a bit of a campaign for this Christmas, what you would spend on Christmas presents for customers and clients. We donate to.
That would be mental.
It would be so much better because, you know, you see people.
Well, look at this. This is all shit that we bought that we haven't given. And this is shit that we've got given that I'm not going to drink. Like, there's more.
Yeah.
There's boxes and boxes of shit. Now, imagine that was donated to Bushfire Relief or Beyond Blue or whatever.
It takes the stress out of it. And I did see it a little bit through Melbourne. So through Melbourne, not original idea because in Melbourne they did it.
No one else is going to know.
Okay, completely my idea.
Completely Lee's idea.
Abolish Christmas hashtag.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know why we still have Christmas.
Hashtag abolish Christmas.
The majority of the population are atheists anyway, aren't they?
We don't need to stop over Christmas for Christmas break.
Just keep working?
No, we don't need to stop. The industry shouldn't be stopping over Christmas.
I agree. Let's just keep working.
No. Break the holidays up. Have your public holidays.
Can't we have Christmas in winter? Then when it rains? Yeah. We're not working then anyway. I really like that idea. Can you take care of that?
I'm not a take care of it sort of person.
We need to find a take care of it.
We need one of your wonderful...
My people are pretty busy.
I could put the idea out there, I suppose. But it's just...
if anyone's interested in championing that idea, just comment below this video.
Yes, please.
So what do we do? So all the suppliers in the industry and all the customers in the industry...
The landscape industry back...
You can sign up to be part of it. Whatever your supplier was going to give you, you get sent basically an email saying, we've donated $20 to save the world on behalf of this.
Do you know, not even a
customer
amount.
point. We just don't give gifts.
Instagram, no gifts.
And money just gets donated.
Instagram, Facebook, or Monkey. What's the email monkey thing?
MailChimp. Can you go quickly by emailmonkey.com? I think that's going to take off.
Okay, email Monkey all your clients to say, look, we are backing.
We're doing this instead.
And you don't need to then say, well, this landscaper, you gave a $50 present. This is a $100 present.
Yeah.
And then you're putting it up on Instagram. Look what this supplier gave me, but
it's
that
lazy.
Supplier only gave someone else something else.
For me, I'd go still see them each individually and hand them a card, handwritten,
Really?
because it's me,
Well,
and say, look, we've donated on behalf of, thank you. Because that's just, like, it's perfect and it's beautiful, but it's really easy for corporates to be lazy and just dump 10 grand in a fire relief fund and go, instead of doing this year, we've done this.
Okay, yeah.
That's just my view.
Yeah.
But
I'm, and you must understand that I don't like presents.
Yeah.
I find
But you
presents
love
embarrassing.
giving
I love
them.
giving presents, but I don't like presents. I find very uncomfortable. So that's coming from
why?
I don't know.
You don't feel worthy of receiving a gift? We can do this off camera.
Yeah, let's do this off camera. Otherwise, I might cry. Yeah. Where were we? I don't know.
I think we were getting towards the end. I don't have too many more questions. Is there anything you want to leave, I guess, to end this off with? This is a very unique situation. I've never had to double podcast a guest, so I think it was both challenging. It was challenging for both of us to try and pull the gold out of the last podcast and then sprinkle it with the potential gold of this podcast and make sure that we delivered something good. And I think we did.
Yeah, so what you missed out on was the energy of my being nervous, because I'm not so nervous this time.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit more
Which
like,
is cool.
oh, this is casual, where last time I was like, whoa.
I'm
bang.
really nervous that Michael's fucked this one up.
3 times.
And then we're like, if the audio is messed up on this, which
Do you know what? If this is
He's a
the 3
comedian.
time, if we have to do this 3 times, we're getting Ryan from Outscape Constructions to come and sit with me so we can banter. Because when you get us together,
I don't know if Ryan's he's like the Queen. He doesn't do events. No, does the Queen do
we
events?
could give him a gold throne.
Yeah, and just sit him in the corner.
And
you can be his representative. So you'll be like Prince William, but you'll just come to do the podcast on his behalf.
I'll be his work companion,
Yeah.
and then Carly could
A support
perhaps,
person.
Yeah, be his representative.
That would be a fun craft. We could do the craft with all 4 of us and just sit around a table and eat cheese and drink wine and talk shit.
You know
I don't
how
know
we were
if anyone would
talking
watch
about
it, but I
those
don't really
events. We were talking about those events, and one of the best events that we went to was the MLSA. What's the annual general meeting?
AGM, yep.
AGM. We went to the AGM, the couple of us, and then afterwards we had a really nice, relaxing dinner, and all the people around the table, there was no ego on the table. And
I remember
we were
that.
just
There's
sitting
5
down.
people.
It was a really safe place to sit down and just have a chat and have a nice time. So that's the beauty of.
We try to create that. That was a very.
Phil
Dawes. Yeah, that was a very that wasn't manufactured, and that's why it was so pure. You know how you go out with friends and you're like, I didn't expect it to be that great. I wasn't going to have a big night, and it was just wicked.
And I don't know if you recall, but the reason why we had to stay for dinner was because I'd had a gin.
We had to nurse
I had to eat
your
food
alcohol. Your blood
so I
alcohol
could
had to
drive
drop down.
But it was really nice because we had Phil Dawes,
Yeah.
which was great to learn a little bit about his business, and Ryan and yourself, and just trying to think who else was there. Carl Heine was there.
Yeah, that's right.
And
anytime Carl Heine's at the table, you're just blessed with.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Quality
so I suppose the
conversation.
beauty, the MLSA AGM, they don't get a lot of numbers,
Which
but
could be a very
afterwards-
boring event.
Yes.
If you're not part of that 10% that are really involved in the voting and because a lot of members don't go and don't vote, which I think's sad, but that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
But then to be able to have that nice thing afterwards.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and it was just impromptu. It wasn't and that's what you get from
that's
the industry.
That's why it's great,
things.
because it's impromptu.
Yeah.
And like I was gonna say, we try to create those events, like the trip to Melbourne, and we've had some dinners. Actually, we need to do another one of them where we have like 10 landscapers have dinner at a private room somewhere and try and make. There's no agenda.
Yeah.
And the landscapers pay them their own way, so it's not a. It's not like where we're going to buy you dinner and there's some implied contract that you have to support us in return. It's just facilitating this this nice event. So
Yeah, no, I think what you do with the community is fantastic.
Thank
and that
you.
is creating a community, and we
this
need
wasn't
that.
meant to be a Clint party. So that is it.
Oh,
I've got
you've let me off really easy.
I've got no questions left. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming in a second time. I know when you're working as much as you are, it's hard. Hopefully this was an energizing experience more than a taxing experience.
Oh, it's great. It gives me opportunity to get on the road. On the way here, I went to a beautiful landscape that has just been installed by Little Fig, James and
Yep.
Corey. And it looks incredible. And it was just fantastic to drop in and see them and have a chat with the builder on that site as well. And he
Is that
goes,
Sirocco?
yeah. So Rocky,
I know Rocco.
Rocky,
He wouldn't remember me, but
Rocky's wonderful, and he stay tuned to my Instagram account because I've got a little piece on Rocky because he's very experienced in our industry.
he I remember dealing with him when I worked at Newton's. So
Dealing or working?
Dealing with him. So I was supplying materials to him. So
Yeah.
Newton's he'd be all Newton's. He always has been. He lives up in Rostrevor, and
Yeah.
if he still lives in this massive house, and if he was in the building, you knew he was in the building.
Yeah, he's so welcoming and lovely, and
It's so loud.
yeah,
This is 15
he
years
still
ago.
is,
Yeah.
and he's very generous with his time.
And a crazy sense of humour.
Yeah,
Like the younger people at Newton's would have been really like, who is this guy?
the first time I met Rocky was on a beautiful job site which we'd won an award for.
Yep.
And it was very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But he's got a good heart,
Yeah.
and that's where if he's got a
You
good
know,
heart,
yeah.
yeah.
If people want to find your work, Instagram's where it's at.
Instagram. I'm also on all the grams. So
All the
I'm
grams,
on
the
Facebook,
face gram,
I'm on the
and the
Facebook.
link gram,
and the
and the
email monkey.
the email monkey gram.
No. Let's be serious. Come on, stop messing around. We've got Instagram,
Yep.
Facebook, Pinterest, House, LinkedIn,
Yep.
and
Your website.
and my website,
So people search Lee Gray Garden.
Lee Gray Landscape Design.
Oh, fucking
So I'm Lee Gray, and I Landscape Gardens. It's Landscape Design Garden.
Yep.
that
Design
didn't come
the
out.
landscaping of gardens.
Let's do that all over again.
Hi.
No, let's not.
Hi, my name's Lee Gray, and I design landscapes.
Sparkles.
You can use that.
Make sure you note that you want to cut that one
Trim
out.
that shit out. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for the plant. And thank you everyone for tuning in to yet another full landscape.
Y'all ready to turn it up tonight?